Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ, your station for the imagination. I'm glad you all could arrive here in time to fly in from the interwebs to appear on this show live on Twitch, YouTube, and our own Discord server Monday through Friday. So let's get into it. We've been going through I not yet named thing of cutting class, where we take the classes of classic Dungeons and Dragons and kind of have some fun. Yeah, Jarl. Exactly. Boom. Yep, just flew in from Dublin, and my boy, are my arms tired. Whew. All right. Maybe one day that might be a reality in our world if society survives long enough to for us to embrace our transhumanist future. That's a different subject. That's a different episode, I think. All right, so we're going through the classic classes. We were talking about clerics. We're going to talk about it all week this week. And today is Tuesday, Trope Tuesday. And we're going to talk about some of the tropes that we see in our own world and kind of turn them into, things we can use in the game. As a matter of fact, we already have some brain fuel. And part of it has to do with you guys are huge fans of Warhammer. And I thought we would start out with a couple of things popped in here by the Jarl DM and Deadman and Tesla. There is for those who don't know, Warhammer 40K is of course a war that's been going on for 40,000 years, and there of course there's war and battle, and then of course there are clerical institutions, and there are, let's just say that whenever you have a war, yeah, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And of course, whenever you have a war, you have to worry about spies and people undermining your war. And some of that can be flavored religiously. And so I thought we would talk about, because we hinted on a little bit at the end of yesterday's broadcast, but I thought we would talk about some of the jobs that religious institutions have. And, I didn't know that. I did not know that the term grimdark originated with 40K. I thought it was I thought it spontaneously spawned, but I didn't know that. I did not know that, huh? Cam's like, I prefer an Iron Man suit over a sleeve. I don't want to be on a hard drive. I don't know. I don't think you'd mind too much if it was done forcibly against your will while you were pinned down and a drill put to the back of your head. I think at the end of it, you'd probably not mind too much. as my oppressive technocratic government forces everyone to get a cortical stack. At the cost of 1,000 years of service. Anyway, so one of the great jobs that clerical institutions have had is rooting out internal conflict. Now, that internal conflict could be heresy, like unbelievers. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm with Tesla. Like, yeah, fine. You play Tony. I'll play Jarvis. Yeah. What was it? There have been a number of YouTubers that are scientifically related talking about the fact that Tony Stark would have been pudding inside of his Iron Man suit if he was able to fly and stop and maneuver at the speeds that he is maneuvering in. And I'm thinking I don't want to be jelly on the inside of a suit when they open up the hood and look down on the inside and they see like bones and stew. All right. So Jarl DM says, one of the interesting things in the 40K universe is that a secular dream for its utopia was twisted into a theocratic nightmare due to the pride and sins of men and postmen. Yeah, 40K takes everything and twists it into a dark, it's most brutal and sadistically dark version of itself. And not saying that all outcomes are all grimdark, but it pretty much do- tends to go that way. And one of the things that uh, as playing clerics or actually having a clerical institution in your world could be this desire to like hunt out internal conflict, and that internal conflict could be people speaking up against the government and how things are run. Tradition versus change. It could be heresies and heretics, essentially people who do or do not believe or worship in the proper manner, which can be problematic just thinking about it. But in even in a role playing game, the old Grognardian detect good and evil spells were quite a bit problematic. But even today, it might be due to opening yourself up to sin, the embodiment of sin, whatever that religion means. Meaning, like, it may not be like the seven deadly sins today, but it could be opening yourself up to fiendish slash celestial beings, elemental fiends, essentially opening yourself up to possession and or influence by outside creatures and such. So yep. Your DM says if you're an authoritarian ruler, an inquisition is effectively a sacred secret police. Very useful tool. Yeah. Heck, just having, but if a authoritarian government just assembled a like sacred secret police, just their presence may put people in line. And unfortunately, what ends up happening when you have like a any type of secret police force, especially when they have to operate with not just operate with impunity, because a lot of times they are outside the ruling levels of hierarchy. They're outside of a caste system, but also a lot of times they have to operate on rumors and spies and confidential informants, which means that it's very easy for people to turn somebody else in. Um, Much like during the United States, there was a part of time when we had the House Un-American Activities Act, I believe it was, where everyone was a communist. And if you were accused of being a communist, you were basically blackballed unless you could point somebody else out to be a communist to get yourself out from under being a communist. So there was this constant like it was constant tag with the destruction of people's lives just by being accused. And so player characters could be in like a double yeah could be in this like double format, um, yeah, your DM says you can declare anyone to be a heretic and then kill them, and the people assume you're correct and not tyrannical. Exactly. Because, well, listen, most people, sure, outwardly, they're like, yeah, they were a heretic. Inwardly, they're going like, whew, they didn't think I was one. Am I one? Well, if you think you're one, you are one. Really? How does that work? Cameron says the scariest part of the Inquisition is that you'd never expect it. Yeah. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Yeah. Yeah. Andres Martin says, yeah, as a Spanish, as a, as a Spanish, I'm well acquainted. I'm well acquainted with Inquisitions, unexpected ones, especially. Yeah. There's no such thing as innocence, only degrees of guilt. That's the problem, right? So player characters, you could play this up two ways. And what the cool way is, you start them on one side of the scale, right? And they're like, you're hunting down evil within the population, and you're busting down doors, letting the player characters get really like full of themselves. And then you start tilting the scale the other way as they more and more going after innocent people. The player characters are part of this inquisition and are being manipulated to go after like political dissidents or maybe people that I just don't particularly like because I'm the ruler and I'm telling you what to do. Or there are people within the community that are just using it for their own ill-gotten gains. Like, oh, great, got rid of a business rival. Thanks for calling them a heretic. And the PCs are like, wait a minute. I thought we were trying to do something good. And underneath it all, they probably need to start doing good things, but they're being manipulated politically, and then it starts to shift over where the PCs are like, this is wrong, again, there's this like teeter top where we need the service, and we need to eliminate the evils, the usurpers in our community, but they're also being manipulated. And how do they choose one or the other? Who do they let loose that is innocent? What happens to the innocent person if the public, goes into rage filled mob mode? What happens to the person's reputation? What criteria does it take to become an innocent, if at all? Like you said, like your old DM says, there is no such thing as innocence, only degrees of guilt. So then, yeah, what happens then? Or what happens if you have corruption within your own inquisition? Yep. Yeah. The hard part is, yeah, I'm with you, AM. The hard part is making Inquisitor the good guys after the real world histories. Yeah, well, the I, I don't want to say this is the easy part, but we have fiends, celestials, monsters, otherworldly outsiders that are able to take on human shape as shape shifting or possess human beings. So we do have enemies. We do have like monsters of various ilks that we can throw in, but after a while, it might become monster of the week, and I think it could very easily turn into even without your influence as a DM. I think it can very easily turn into our own uh, traumatic histories and such. Yeah. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Thank you, Tesla. Yeah. What a meme. But anyway, okay. So, uh, let's see. Yeah. I hear you. Like your LDM says, playing something so opposite to my hippie ass arcano communist atheism. Yeah. But it's pretend, right? It's a way for us to. I mean, we know role playing games you know, help out, psychological traumas. If for no other reason, putting ourselves in the shoes of other people is a great thing. It goes on to say, Inquisitors are not the good guys, but they don't know that. No one thinks they're evil, especially those who are conditioned to think they're righteous. Yeah, and that's one of the problems with I the we like to talk about other like things in role playing games. Like we get in arguments about hit points and armor class and alignment and playing lawful stupid uh, as a paladin, but we really don't. We very rarely, because we tend to be a the role playing community tends to be very um, egalitarian in their outlook. We very rarely think about the ramifications of uh, clerical study and organized religions, if there are organized religions in the world, and we're already hitting upon one of them. Cameron says religious beliefs and pressure can affect kings and cause them to write books like the Maleficarum, and pass laws that remove protections of people during times of witch hunts. Yeah, witch hunting, the whole 9 yards. Now, I think if we want to diverge away from the witch hunting, the internal witch hunting, basically going after your own citizens, you can start to move that towards the you could make it something from the outside, basically making them vampire hunters, witch hunters, but merging them with exploration, going out into the wild. It's not a matter of like, oh, we're going to go into a crypt and steal treasures. It may be more of a matter of people need to be behind protected walls. um, Very much, we're going to bring up Game of Thrones again. It's going beyond the wall up in the north, right? Where you're the frontline defense against the onslaught of evil that's coming into the civilized world. And that can kind of, if you really don't want to want to deal with like taking away people's human rights and stuff in your role playing game because you just want to beat monsters about the head and shoulders, maybe making it external, something coming from distant lands, like on the other side of a mountain or a valley, or another coming from a distant islands or something. Maybe that might be a better way to look at it, and you don't have to deal with like, how do we kill a monster that's possessing innocent people, and um, things like that. Now I'll get into the Discord in just a moment. But Jarl DM says, I love the thought experiment of trying to understand the mind that could burn a witch or hang people for supposed heresy. Yeah, we've had witch trials here, and it was like I remember seeing a documentary. They said it was just basically a weird confluence of a number of traumatic things that happened around the same time for them to start having these witch trials. And sometimes some people will even rationalize away, like, oh yeah, we know the witch trials are useless, but we're doing it to assemble control in a world where we don't have control, right? Because that's essentially what people love. They need to have control of their world. And when when the earth is too big for us to understand, when things are moving in a manner in which there's nothing we can do about it, sacrificing people is a pretty good panacea for that. We tend to default to that, like, there's got to be somebody we can kill to make this chaos stop. And they're like, oh, I've got an idea. Everyone who's got, I don't know, blue eyes and a birthmark on their left shoulder. And then once you kill all of them, they're like, we need more birthmarkers. The birthmark has moved. It's stuff like that, right? The Malleus Maleficarum. I'm probably putting the wrong emphasis on the incorrect syllable, but whatever. Malefacis Maleficrum, usually translated as the Hammer of Witches, is the best known treatise on witchcraft. It was written by the Catholic clergyman Heinrich Kramer under his Latinized name Henricus Institutorius, and first published in the German city of Speyer in 1486. That's a deep dive right there. I never knew such a thing. I'm always learning something new, guys. Thank you very much. I'm sitting here on my armchair. Maybe I should actually learn something. Malicis Maleficarum. I, again, I'm butchering it. So why you guys want me to do that, I don't know, but whatever. Yes, the Salem witch trials were for a short time a huge problem here, and now that could be something else that could be done in terms of like clerics traveling to a new world, and they go along with an exploration group to a place where nobody and no one, like the player characters literally are the only ones there who know anything about the gods they worship, and they go to a new world and it's completely different. Like you could do the classic, everyone's a druid in the far world because they're tribalistic or something, but you're bringing along your um, clerical class abilities, and no one there is one. And it would be pretty interesting for players to set up shop. This is something else that can be very problematic when it comes to clerics, especially like Jarl DM self-admittedly is like, I'm pretty much an atheist. Like I told you guys, like I'm a fluid agnostic kind of, and it is this idea that you have to be. Clerics are convinced of the fact, and they can demonstrate the miracles of their convictions. So they aren't really wrong, but when it comes to proselytizing, like witnessing, converting other people, um, the building of temples, the education of people, there are other jobs, if you will, functions that religious institutions have, like not just education, but um, being midwives, delivering of children, and child rearing, hospice care, taking care of the elderly or the sick, the disease, curing diseases, finding out where diseases and injuries originate from and eliminating those hazards, whether it's something a hazard of the spirit or a hazard of the mind or whatnot. There's also consecration of land. Could you imagine? Could you imagine going into the nine hells, getting into the first level of hell, opening a portal, and having armies of like knights and lawful good people show up, and then you're instructed to like assemble to basically consecrate the corrupted lands of the first level of hell. Pretty impossible task, but there's been a lot of impossible tasks that religious institutions have instituted, um, and so that could also be a thing as well. Where yeah, of course it's an evil land. It's evil. It's completely grimdark, and your job is to bring light to the place, or convert the population, or build a monument, or something of that nature. And the players might even be involved in something that will never be finished in their lifetime, and that takes. Can you imagine the faith it takes to know that you are the small cog in the big wheel, and you're satisfied with that? I'm looking at you, pyramids, construction of pyramids, right? I'm looking at you, Great Wall of China. Not saying that, considering the emperors were considered divine beings, right? Yeah, people who built Catholic, yep, people who built cathedrals. Like you're going to carve a statue you'll never finish. Someone's going to take over for you, and you're like, sweet, yeah. uh, Yeah, Dead Man says in D&D, one of the good gods converted one of the planes of the abyss to be good aligned. When did that happen? Wait a minute. What? Or is this a past tense or like a present tense kind of thing? I don't remember that. Why don't I remember that? But yes, a player character could be sent on that mission. Like, you know what? It was the Blood War. We happened to get foothold into one of the nine layers of one of the layers of the abyss, or the nine hells, or etc., pandemonium or something like that. And your job is to sit here while we bring reinforcements. And the PCs are like, wait, what? We're dead. Yeah. Cameron says the witch hunts in Europe went on for hundreds of years. Salem was near the end of it, but some people think it's still going on today. Witch hunting. We've translated our witch hunting, but yeah, we've got witch hunting today too. uh, Cam says, I learned the Salem witch trials went on for over a year. Imagine that much paranoia going on for that long in a single, mostly isolated community of people who weren't native to the land. Eating themselves from the inside out. Yep. Yep, like Andrews Martin says, like the Christian priests who went to South America. Yeah, yeah, like Cam's like, don't bless the lake. Now, but in all seriousness, as far not seriousness, but in all seriousness, as far as tabletop gaming goes, it might be pretty interesting to throw players into a meat grinder like that, especially if you want to do like we know this goes around the community all the time, where it's like we're all going to play paladins, we're all going to play clerics, we're all going to play bards. A an all cleric group, I think this is one of the great ways to challenge them. So, sure, as a all cleric group, they could pretty much beat ass for any monsters out there. But then the internal workings of like, okay, you've beat the ass of the monsters. Now you've got to get the people organized to begin building something that none of the people there will ever live to see. And the population's like, why? We can barely feed ourselves, and you want us to spend our energy building some monument that's probably never going to be finished to some emperor somewhere who doesn't care about us? Like, pfft, you can suck my whatever, kiss my. And the clerics are like, don't make me pull my mace. I will pull a morning star on you in a minute. And so I like that idea. Maybe they have to gather certain materials, or do something at a certain time and place, or they have to have exactly 17 members of the faithful around, and only half the people actually believe in the faith. And so you've got to get people who truly believe and stuff, and that could be a whole kind of weird thing. Yeah. Cam's like, I'd like to play the whole cleric party and play a wizard in disguise. Now, see, that's how I would do it, right? I'd be like, um, you have to play someone who is faithful, but you don't have to play a cleric. Like, sure, you could put wizards and rogues and warlocks and all that kind of stuff under like the umbrella of one religious institution. I think it would make perfect sense. Cam's like, this is Inquisitor Sally Whiteman, one of the oldest and loved NPCs in World of Warcraft. I kind of get the appeal. Yeah, unless you go down the deep dark path of hentai, and we're not going to do a week of that. But yes, I get the appeal. Oh, you want me to convert? Wait, what? Can I do that now? What you said on my knees? Sure. Anyway, there's a picture posted in the Discord, and yes, it hinges on the dirty. Now, the some of the other things that clerics could do that are less, I guess, less could be less controversial are, protecting, literally protecting people from possession or exorcisms or being part of an entourage because the religious must be there when things are done. Like meaning like um, people that graduate from educational institutions, the appointment of special individuals like people who are appointed in noble families that rise up in rank. When someone puts the crown on the head of the kings and queens, there's usually a religious personnel there to acknowledge the and bless the occasion. In role playing terms, the blessing of a particular person or individual or marriage or something like that, it can have a mechanical effect, right? So, blessing when people get together, or blessing a child, or whatnot, could be an issue. And not when I say an issue, meaning like if it's not done, there might be other hazards brought in, and we could even make it. If you want to challenge some of our thoughts today, some of these blessings and protections and acknowledgement of status might be reserved for only certain classes of people, but the player characters might find that they might be bucking the system. Like, no, we can, women can wear the crown. Why can't we have this woman? She's capable of leading our armies. Why didn't you think about that? Or, we have lots of uh, diversity issues that we're dealing with in our tabletop RPG community. Myself being one of those diverse individuals. Maybe there are, a distant tribal people are brought into the civilized world, and the PCs are like, yeah, we can just assimilate, or why can't they be part of our religious organization? While the clergy at the top are like, hell no, they look different than us. So those are ways to confront some of those real world things. And if you don't want to do the real world confrontations, there's also the idea that the players are all constantly juggling. They're constantly juggling the act of consecrating and blessing and protecting and exercising, like, as more and more hazards start to build, the player characters have to go from place to place to essentially put their yes, I'm going to say it, to put their finger in the dam, or the dike, to keep things from falling down, because someplace else needs their blessings. Like, the army won't move unless someone comes there and blesses them. And the PC's like, they're fine on their own. They're like second level PCs. Why can't they fight the zero level enemies on the other side? They're like, we are not moving until we get someone to bless us first. And so maybe they have to go back and forth with that. Yep. Cam says, laugh out loud. A physical therapist cleric who exercises people into better health, but her workouts also works on expelling demons. Maybe out of the exercising. Yes. Physical therapy could and maybe should be a real thing. Why the hell not? We're going to exercise your soul. Come on, let's go to the astral plane. And the normal folks are like, we're gonna go wear what? Do what? Watch out for your silver cord. Don't get it tangled. Um, yeah, and a one, and a two, and turn the music up, Bard. And grapevine. Oh man. But yeah, maybe so. Also, religious organizations have always been the more educated ones, so maybe they're needed to read or decipher certain kinds of legal documents, or they are like diplomats. They are sent as they're the first contact individuals when going to other planes of existence or other parts of your world and whatnot. Maybe even they are required on naval vessels and long trips across, through jungles and desolate terrain and all that kind of business. And it's almost as if they are like the people won't even go further unless they are there with them, knowing that they're there to give them blessings. And in a mechanical sense, some people might want to rely on your guidance and bless spells after a while, your protection spells, because without it, they feel like they are losing something. But of course, one of the main things before we get out of here is just being part of a war with the gods. Sometimes when you are a small cog in a big machine, maybe you just happen to be an agent for one side versus another side. Now you could do it very easily, like, okay, fiends against celestials. Which side? Which side? Of course, you're going to most likely want to be on the celestial side, unless there's really good reason like why you wouldn't want to be, which could be oppressive governments, domination. The PCs are on the fiendish side to give free will to the populations of people that are being destroyed, because they are all considered heretics because they don't adhere to either lawful, neutral, or chaos, and either specifically goodness and all the iterations thereof. And so I could see even something like that, where you can make fiends the good guys in a way, or at least the not as bad guys, or the PCs are a collection of loyalists to both the fiends and celestials of the outer planes, and they're fighting in a war that none of them really agrees with. They're like, we've got free will. I don't see what the problem is. And the fiends are like, yeah, like they're my best friends, these winged people. I don't get it. And they're the but even if you don't want to do good and evil, it could just be philosophies, right? Like nature versus industry. It could be law versus free will, right? Lawful evil and lawful good teaming up against chaotic good and chaotic evil. So it could be law against chaos. It could be any number of things. Let me get back into the chat here. Cam says, now I'm imagining a half-orc barbarian sitting on an exercise ball talking to an old halfling lady lifting tiny weights. Exercise ball. I'm just imagining the half-orc barbarian in one of those like tights from the 80s with like the ankle warmers and the hairsprayed big hair that's like poofed out here, listening to some kind of like, and I run so far, lifting the small weights and VHS. Where's my VHS? Yeah, female orc aerobic instructor. All right, Omen. Let's see if you can find a pic of that. Type that into Google. Let's see what you get. Anyway, yeah, being a small cog in a big war, or heck, oh no, challenge accepted. Anyway, the I just feel like sometimes we undersell the religious institutions in role playing games. Normally the player character cleric is on their own. They're in within the party, and they really don't have too many. They don't really have too many restrictions on what they can do and how they do it. Right? They're basic. The only difference between clerics and wizards is a word. Right? Other than that, there's really isn't much difference unless you start to build something around them, giving them uh, particular like responsibilities and such. And sure, a lot of that can be given to downtime, but it might be pretty interesting for the players to go on a caravan, and the caravan is part of a religious pilgrimage to take them to some sacred land where there are, Stonehenge, where there are stones built and shaped, or through the vast desert to an oasis or something, or they want to make a pilgrimage to the the pyramid temple being built, or they want to be. Oh no, 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 no! You did not find one. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, you did find a female orc aerobic instructor. I'm 80s big hair. Yeah, the cutoff, the cutoff high shirt, slouch shouldered, thick. No, it's more than close enough. I'm getting it. I'm almost feeling I'm feeling a little bit of a She-Hulk in it, in this a little bit, like purpled hair, a little bit of tusks, but I'm still feeling a little bit of a She-Hulk in there. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. uh can I pay my $10 a month, please? Anyway, I love it. I love it a lot. Not sure how we got to female orc aerobic instructors, but what the hell? That's where we go on our our squirrely journey. But anyway, guys, thank you very much. Tomorrow is World Building Wednesday, which we've already been world building anyway. But maybe what we'll do is we'll build. Omen's like, I do know they have them in Shadowrun. Yeah, no doubt. But maybe we'll build our own religion, and like kind of come up with like a domain. Maybe we'll do something where we build like non mono domain gods. Like maybe we'll build a pantheon, a small pantheon, maybe no more than 3 to 5, or um, player characters can choose to worship a pantheon rather than an individual or something, and then how the world translates out there. I know we've got a lot of real world examples, so we'll try to steer away from that. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Yes, I do see all the salutations before you guys get out of here. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one. Ooh, luck. Ooh. Luck might be a good thing. Luck and fate and chances, time, space, or something. Sounds pretty good. Anyway, guys, I am out. Gotta head off to work. You guys have a great one. I'll see you later. Bye. Thank you very much for watching.